Hello my lovelies, and welcome back to my YouTube channel, or welcome if you're new. My name's Megan and I just do lifestyle, a wee bit about motherhood, marriage, things like that. In today's video, I'm just going to chat a bit about kind of like a bit of like first time mum advice. My baby is now currently 3 months old, and I've definitely learned a few things over the past couple of months, and kind of also like I'm going to chat a bit about like what I wish I knew as a first time mum before having a little baby, just to kind of like give you some advice on what to expect. I mean, every baby is different. That's kind of one main thing I want to say is every baby is different, so what kind of like I went through and what you'll go through is possibly different, so I just want to kind of put that out there as well. So yeah, let's just get into it. First thing that I wish I knew before becoming a first time mum is people always said not to buy newborn clothes, so this is kind of clothes related to babies, and they said not to buy newborn clothes because your baby's going to be too big for them. So my baby was actually slightly bigger on the wee graph that you get according to your body weight and height and everything like that, so she was like kind of going a wee bit higher, but she actually came out what she was predicted at the end, so she did slow down near the end of my pregnancy. So she came out like 7'9", and that's what I was predicted to have on my little graph. So I always thought she was going to be a bit bigger, so I was like, you know what, I'm not going to buy any newborn clothes, she's not going to be in them. And that's what everyone kept telling me. Everyone was kind of like, she's not going to need the newborn clothes, probably only be in them for like a week, and then she'll have to go into 0 to 3. So I was like, right, okay, well I'll just get some 0 to 3 clothes, and people had already bought me 0 to 3 clothes, so I had loads of 0 to 3 clothes. And then near the end of my pregnancy I kind of was like, I really think she's not going to be like a 10-pound baby. So I actually decided to go and get some newborn clothes, and she ended up being in newborn clothes for like 2 months. She's like, I maybe started wearing like some of the smaller 0 to 3 clothes on her near the 2-month mark, but she was in newborn clothes for ages, especially like newborn bodysuits and sleep suits. She was in those for ages, so I would definitely recommend that if even just to get like a couple of things in newborn outfit or newborn size, and also to buy clothes with like buttons, like popper buttons, not like actual like buttons, like popper ones that you can just like pop in, or zips, because honestly, see, like during the night you're not going to be wanting to fiddle around with some like buttons. Even now I still try and get popper stuff. Some of her like vests and stuff come with like actual buttons if they're like nice, like fancy vest sort of idea, like long sleeve ones. They come without the poppers, and I'm like, this is just such a hassle. So I definitely recommend getting some poppers rather than actual buttons, because it is so fiddly, and especially if they're moving around and you're trying to get them in, all they want to do is to get fed, and you're trying to change their nappy and then you're trying to get the buttons back in. It's not going to work. So yeah, I would definitely recommend that with clothes. The next thing I'll say is what I wish I knew as well, like kind of, I mean, people told me I think, but I don't think I actually really realised how much it affects babies, is passing wind, being able to pass wind. So April actually had an issue with this, so whenever we were actually in the hospital, she got very, very windy, and couldn't actually pass any of it. So she was so tight, like her tummy was so hard, and she couldn't actually pass it. And I think this is both, she's formula fed, and I think this is both for formula and breastfeeding, but their digestive system just isn't formed like fully, and they're just not able to pass wind as easily as like a normal like even a toddler, or even like a baby at 3 months. She's a lot better now, but whenever she was first born, when we were in the hospital still, she got so tight, and I actually had to get one of the midwives to help me get her wind up because it was so hard to get up. So yeah, I think one thing to prepare you is just that wind is a really big thing for most babies. I think anyone I've talked to, their baby has had wind trapped at some point in their journey. So yeah, it is very hard. So I would definitely look into kind of techniques of how to get babies wind up and things like that, because it is very hard for them, and then they do just start to like really cry because they're so sore with the wind being trapped. You know yourself, if you've got like trapped wind, it is really sore. So it is something that you have to prepare for, because they do get really windy. Another thing which I would say is a bit of advice, babies do cry. That is how they communicate with us. Like if there's something wrong with them, they will cry to tell you there's something wrong with them, and sometimes if there's nothing wrong with them, they will still cry to tell you there's nothing wrong with them. It's just their way of talking to us and kind of communicating how they feel. So babies do cry, and it is okay for them to cry. Don't get stressed out about them crying, because like they will cry inevitably. Like babies just cry, that's how they communicate. So yeah, I think for me, like I didn't think babies cried as much as they cry. I knew they cried, but yeah, I think when we brought her home, like the very first night when we had her, she literally basically cried the whole night, and that's basically because she had just been taken out of somewhere where she was really comfortable. She was nice and having a great time in my womb, nice and comfy, nice and cozy, nice and warm, and then she was taken out and put into this big world and doesn't know what to do. She had to now sleep in her own bed, had to have like clothes on, had to breathe air. It was all very, very strange for her, and it is very strange for babies whenever they first come out, because they don't know what they're doing, and it does take a good month or so before they actually realise kind of where they are and what is happening. So they will cry. Obviously they will cry because they need fed, they need changed, they just want hugged, whatever it is. Go through all of those things when they're crying, and if you've done all those things, they probably will still be crying, because they just cry just because that's what they do. Yeah, so they're just trying to get used to the world and get used to you, and get used to your partner, and get used to like life outside the womb, and that is a scary thing for little babies, because all they've known is a nice comfortable like place where they've had been able to hear your heartbeat as well, and now they're all of a sudden just out and trying to and has to get used to the world as soon as possible. So I would say definitely just try and give yourself a grace period with your baby. Their crying will subside once they start to get used to, well, this is what happened for April anyway, I can't say this for every baby. One thing I wish that I knew before I'd have my baby is another piece of advice that I definitely would give to any new mum, or if you're pregnant, any mum that to be, is everything is a phase and everything will pass. My health visitor actually told me this whenever I met her. I think it was day 10. She came around to the house and did a visit. So she actually told me like everything is a phase, nothing is going to be set in stone forever. And what you think is gonna like last a lifetime will actually end. So if your baby keeps crying and crying and you can't settle her, she will stop crying eventually. Like she will come to a point where she's just past that phase of crying. She's just woke up, haven't you? You didn't sleep for very long, did you? Yeah, so I think I was saying that everything is a phase, and it will pass. No matter what it is, it will pass. And yeah, because I remember what I was saying, I remember when we were, she wouldn't go to sleep like during the night when she was like really, really tiny, and you're still tired. And it was really, we were just like, what are we gonna do? We're never gonna get sleep again. And then the next couple of nights she slept fine. So it's just kind of like, you just need to keep reminding yourself, and this is what I do mostly now. After my health visitor told me this, was like it will pass, and she'll move on to the next stage, and that is just the way it is. The thing that leads on to that as well is babies change so much. So they do, they literally change so much, and like you think you've got her into a routine, or you think you've got her sleeping, or you think you've got her like in the right, like the right amount or whatever, like whatever it is, like they will change. Like they'll do that maybe for a couple of days and then they'll change again, because they're always doing different things, and they're always developing and trying. Yeah, well, they're always developing. So like every single week, every single day, like I can see her brain developing and I can see her like trying to do a new skill. So yeah, I definitely would say that everything changes basically every week, and so does she. Like she gets like bigger every single day, never mind every single week, so she like physically changes as well. It's crazy, but yeah, just enjoy it. I think that's another thing that I would say to new mums or expecting mums is just enjoy the little things. I know on my Instagram, if you want to follow me on my Instagram, it's at _. I think one thing that I've definitely seen as a first time mum is that you have to enjoy the little things because they go by so quickly. Like she would literally be like sitting down or like lying down on her wee mat one day, and then the next day she's trying to reach for a toy, or the next day she's babbling away and reading me stories, whereas the day before she was literally just so silent, and then she just wakes up and she wakes up the next day after her sleep and she's like ready to take on the world with her voice. So it's just, I think it's really nice, and I think that like one thing I would definitely say is to try and enjoy the little things, even in the midst of like, are you so young? Even in the midst of like all the hard things that comes with motherhood and postpartum, just try and enjoy what's happening with your baby, because even though like it's a hard thing to take care of a baby 24/7, like it is the most rewarding thing you'll ever do. And I think like being able to like just enjoy the small things and to like look for like the small triumphs really helps with kind of all of the hard things. It kind of makes all the hard things a bit better and a bit easier to deal with, because you're looking at the positive instead of the negative in the situation. Another big thing that which actually I was told in the hospital quite often, quite a lot, and whenever I did like prenatal baby classes, we were told that you can't spoil your baby. So like years and years ago they would have told you like leave your baby to cry in the cot because they need to learn to be by themselves. Now they're telling you that you can't spoil a baby and to respond to their needs. I think that's one thing that I've definitely held on to as well. It's because like you can like attend to all your baby's like actual needs, but there's also like an emotional and like love need that your baby needs, which is one thing that you have to learn kind of whenever you like, it is an instinctual thing as a mother, but you also kind of have to learn what way your baby wants to be loved, because some babies don't like actually being held and some babies want to be held all the time. She's kind of in between. She likes to be held and to go down as well, and just be able to look at me while I'm talking to her and stuff. But yeah, so I think one thing is you can't spoil your baby, and like contact naps are okay. So I would have always whenever she does like a contact nap, it's kind of mostly in my baby sling, and usually I will try and like wear her like every single day, and I think that is one thing that we're told, like don't contact nap because they'll never be able to nap by themselves. She naps really well by herself. Like she would nap quite a few times during the day by herself, and then I would put her on my sling just to have a contact nap as well, and I think it is important to give that, to help that kind of closeness, because she was so connected to you in the womb and she obviously just wants to be close to you. So even like giving her one, like obviously it is good to put them down, and it gives you a break as well, but I think it is also good for them to have like your closeness as well. I would just say you can't spoil a baby, so if you want to lift your baby 24/7, then lift your baby 24/7, and if you want to put your baby down and just talk to her 24/7, then that's okay too. Another thing that I think kind of helped with having a C-section was try to stay as calm as possible. So with newborns, they are very startled and they can read your emotion. Like they can feel how you feel. So if you're feeling like scared of holding them, or if you're feeling a bit stressed or anxious about anything, they will feel, is that right? They will feel what you're feeling as well, because they can feel your emotions because they're so close to you, and because they kind of take all of their energy from you, then they do feel what you feel. One thing I would say is just to try and remain as calm as possible. Like, even if they're screaming and say they're bottle feeding, you're trying to get a bottle, you know you're trying to get something for them. Just what I would have done if she was like really screaming the house down and I knew I was trying to get something for her to make her like feel better and everything, I would just kind of zone out her crying whilst still doing what I was doing, still preparing her bottle. And then I knew in myself that I would be attending to her need as soon as I could get the bottle made. You just need to kind of zone out what's happening whilst you're trying to do something for them, and then once you've got that done, like, they will know that you, like, they will be fine once you have like met their need. So don't let their extreme crying like stress you out to the point where you can't get the bottle made, because then if you can't get the bottle made, then they're gonna be even worse. Just try and remain as calm as possible. I remember when the midwife, it was the health visitor I think, came, and she was just like, you're just so calm, like, you're such a calm mum, I don't understand how you're so calm. And everyone who came into our house, who came and met April when she was really young, were always like, you didn't even know there was a baby in the house. And I think it was due to my, like, me being so calm and collected, and Peter's quite calm and collected as well. Like, we're very laid back people anyway, but like, they feed off your energy and feed off how you feel. So I just knew that if I kept calm and collected, then she would feel that calmness from me. One other thing which I will make a separate video of is about postpartum. Postpartum is hard. I don't think it's talked about as much. You know, you're always like, oh my goodness, you're pregnant, this is amazing, like, this is so fun, this is great. Then you go through your pregnancy, you have all your different stages of pregnancy, and then it comes to postpartum, and you're left with this little tiny baby human, and you're also left with all of the postpartum symptoms and fourth trimester symptoms, because fourth trimester I think was the worst trimester for me in terms like of emotional things, because my pregnancy was pretty straightforward. So postpartum was probably the hardest part of my pregnancy journey. But yeah, one thing people would say to me, and oh, you'll bounce back after having a baby, you'll be into your pre-pregnancy jeans before you know it, you'll just look perfect whenever you just give birth. You'll be like, your hips will go back to normal, everything will be back to normal, and that's really not the case for me, and I don't think it's the case for many, like any woman. I had in my head, oh, maybe I will, maybe I'll just like slim right down, the baby will come out, I'll be like completely the way I was before pregnancy. That is not true. Like, my hips have got so much wider, and so has my like ribs, and I don't think they're actually going to come back into, I don't think they're actually going to come back into shape, well, especially the way they were before pre-pregnancy anyway. She was not a happy girl, she just wanted to go to sleep again, so I've just popped her on my sling. Yeah, so let's get back to what we were talking about. I've maybe went back to my around my pre-pregnancy weight, but my complete body shape is different. Yeah, I would say I didn't just bounce back, and I would say that if you are expecting soon, that you probably won't just bounce back to what you were before pregnancy, because your body has like grown to accommodate this baby. It's taken your body 9 months to adapt to that baby growing inside you. It's not going to just take a week for it to go back to normal, you know. So just keep that in mind whenever people do say that to you, that I definitely would say that you don't actually go back to your original shape and size right away. It does take time. But yeah, I'm going to touch a bit more on postpartum in a separate video, so I'm not going to talk about too much of it. But one thing I would say that I wish I knew before I was a first time mum is that postpartum is actually very hard, and it's hard to navigate just all of the emotions that postpartum brings, as well as navigating your new body. another piece of advice which I didn't really know too much about, and I kind of like really struggled with kind of figuring it out, but once I figured it out then it was okay, but was, I would say, to track naps and wake windows. So she is actually a very good napper, and she's also a very good sleeper, and she's very good at being awake in her wake windows, but that's because I did a lot of research into it. Basically, for a certain age they can only stay awake for a certain amount of time before they get tired, and then if they don't go to sleep at that time, then they will get overtired, and then they won't go to sleep, and then they'll get really stressed out, and they'll just want to cry, and that just makes it hard for everyone. So I looked into this because I wanted just to make everything so smooth for her, to be able to enjoy being awake as well as enjoy sleeping. I did use, I think I've like touched on this in another video, but I did use it's an app called Baby Tracker, and I just put in when she goes to sleep and then when she wakes up, and then how long, I'll know how long she's been awake for by when she's woke up, because it usually says like, so say she woke up at like 10, it'll say, and it's like say 10:30, it'll say she's been awake for 30 minutes. So that's definitely been a really good thing, because tracking the naps and the wake time means that you can help her, like, them get into like a sleep schedule, not necessarily like a set in stone schedule, but kind of like, okay, she's woke up at this time, so, and I know she can be awake for max 45 minutes, then she's going to get a bit tired, then I'll help like kind of aid her to go to sleep, that kind of way, and that's really helped so that she doesn't get overtired. There has been a couple of times where she has got overtired, and it has not been great. She is definitely just, she squeals and squeals and squeals and just wants, like, she doesn't know how to deal with the overtiredness. So I definitely done that very, very, very young, like when she was literally maybe a couple of weeks old. I started tracking her naps and her wake time, and there is like a guide, I'll try and find it and pop it on the screen. There's loads of different guides, but kind of like the rough guide that I went off, because every baby's different as well, so every baby will develop differently, so they might be awake longer or shorter according to their age, according to what the normal baby does, but like this guide actually is going kind of what she is according to the year, like her months and stuff. So one other thing I wish I knew was that days are short and nights are long with a newborn, because they're obviously up multiple times a night, and then during the day, like, they will sleep the clock round. So it's so strange. It's like you really want them to sleep at night, but then they're up having feeds and everything during the night, which is like disturbing your sleep, so then you feel like you haven't actually had a rested sleep, and then during the day they're sleeping, so you're kind of like, the day kind of goes fast because they're just sleeping. That's just another thing that I would say is to prepare for, that nighttime feeds can make it feel like a drag at nighttime, and like the morning's never gonna come, but it does every single day, and the night feeds don't last forever. That's another wee thing as well, like nights don't last forever. She currently, unless she's doing a leap, she currently only feeds maybe one time during the night for 3 months. Maybe sometimes like we would get until like 4 o'clock, which is basically nearly morning anyway. So but yeah, I would just say enjoy the first couple of months with your baby. They are definitely, like, especially even from now, like from what I've experienced from newborn to 3 months, they grow so much and they change every day, and they just do things that amazes you, and you can actually see like their brain developing, which is so like amazing to see that in a human. It's so like mind-blowing, like speechless kind of thing. And I know that she'll continue to keep growing, and I'll continue to be like, oh my goodness, I can't believe she can do that now. So I definitely say just enjoy all of the little moments, even with all of the hard things. Postpartum and the 4th trimester and having a baby is hard. It is definitely challenging. It can be tiring and can be overwhelming at times, but it's also so rewarding, and it's such a good thing. Like, it's such a nice thing to have a little person to like hold and hug and be there all for. Like, it's just the most surreal feeling in the world. So I think it's like so important just to enjoy every single little thing, even when it's hard, because we're not going to experience it again, and because the last 3 months I'm never going to experience those moments again, and I'll never experience this day again. So I just always am an advocate for enjoy the moment while you're in it, instead of looking back and being like, oh, I wish I was a little happier then, or I wish that I tried to make the effort to enjoy it then. That's me for today. I'll stop babbling. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it was helpful. I hope you kind of took away from it something that maybe you didn't know before having your baby, or maybe something like a helpful tip or something, I don't know. I just hope that you enjoyed, and if you did, I would just ask that you would, and if you want to stick around, give a big like on this video because that really helps me out, and subscribe down below, notification bell on to be notified every time I upload. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Goodbye.